Hey, this is Notser, and this is the Tier 6 Premium French Battleship, Dunkerque. He has 8 330mm guns, 16 secondary guns, 37 AA defense rating, a surface detect of 16.4 kilometers, top speed 29.5 knots, total health 52,600. For my modules, reduce crit chance on main armament, improved aiming accuracy, reduce the chance of flood and fire, faster rudder shift. For my commander, basic survivability, expert marksman, and superintendent. We are on the map Estuary, and this is the Dunkerque. I'm trying to pronounce it the French way, and that's why it's masculine, of course. If anyone didn't know, apparently the French Navy, they labeled them as he's. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, what have you. Ships are masculine, and that's very weird for someone who is an American, because they're all ladies to us. I'm sure some of the Russians are like, why do you put so much effort into making them male or female? Well, you know, as an American, and probably as a Brit, you see it as sort of a motherly figure. It's taking care of you. You want to take care of them. And that's the sort of rapport that's developed in at least English-speaking countries. And that's what I try and treat my ships. They are a part of me. I want to make sure they get the best respect. And we're going to see how well this ship is actually respected, because it's a handful. It is very, very interesting. And I was about to pull a Notser. This is from the stream for the 500 or so of you who've probably already seen it. But I'm going to talk about what I'm looking for. You have forward-facing guns. 2 forward-facing guns each have quad gun turrets. So it makes it a little awkward when you're trying to rotate around. Anytime you might show your side or your stern, you've got to shoot over the shoulder to some degree. You got to be a little creative at times. You basically play it like an Izumo without having to worry about that third gun turret that needs an extreme angle of the ship, you know, just right so they can penetrate your armor. So in that regard, you go straight on in the most ideal scenario, and you engage the target. Now, we've only done about 8,000 points of damage. I did have a pretty good broadside on the enemy Pensacola. I expected that he might run aground, might pull a Notser, but he didn't, of course. One aspect of the ship that probably isn't highlighted enough is that the guns are so close together. Anywhere you're trying to aim, say you're coming out from behind an island, you basically know exactly when you can fire and when you can't, because where you're looking is right above at least one gun turret, if not both. So peering around an island, trying to get the right angle, you don't have to worry too much about the tracking distances. Anytime you're engaging a target and you're trying to set up a ranging shot, you've got to worry about where your ship is angled. If you have good angling, your back guns will inherently drop short of the target unless you compensate, right? Hopefully everyone understands this. Oh, nice! 16,000 points of damage done, a citadel, that's what I wanted to see. But you don't really have that in the ship, because they're all focused forward. Much like the Izumo, when you fire your guns, the positioning is pretty close. It's very, very consistent. That's the word you want to use. Consistent, Notser. And consistency would dictate the Farragut should send his torpedoes. He's not firing his guns. This is textbook, I've sent my torpedoes. You need to rotate real fast. So I get him with AP 52, just like the Izumo. The back has most of the secondaries. So as you're retreating, your secondaries are engaging the target. We're able to avoid the Farragut. For whatever reason, I think he expected me to slow down, maybe. And I pulled the exact opposite. I drove on forward to victory. Or at least I hope it is. Now, I've talked about the gun position and how I like it as far as you can use your same tactics if you have an Izumo. It's a tier 6, so it's not going to run into anything above tier 8. And that's pretty good, because there's a lot of great ships above tier 8 that you have no chance penetrating. Absolutely no chance. The penetration isn't as bad as other ships that I have been testing, the Scharnhorst. But the Scharnhorst, at least in my eyes, has more consistent rate of fire and more accurate guns relative. It feels like I'm hitting the target more often. And it has torpedoes, which is great. This ship, though, is pretty fast. 29.5 knots. That's pretty good for a tier 6. The Warspite is slower. The New Mexico is slower. The Fuso is slower. The only ship is the Congo, I believe, that is faster or as fast. Now, this enemy, he pulled a Notser, Königsberg, runs aground, and friendlies take him out. I am in the process of avoiding not only the island, but the torpedoes. We avoid the shot on top of all that. And she's pretty responsive in the turn. It feels pretty good. Do you turn often? Not really. Not a normal player. Normally you're going bow on. And that gets to probably the most frustrating aspect of the ship. If it's ever happened to you, you know exactly what I'm going to talk about. Losing a gun turret. These suckers are so vitally important. If you lose a single gun turret, that is 50% of your damage gone in an instant. Is it completely unplayable? Absolutely not. But you need to consider, if your ship is not taking the damage and your turret is, at some point that turret might break. So you need to be a little conservative with the health of your turrets. It breaks more often than I would like to admit. But if you try and get a little bit of an angle, you know, maybe entice them to fire at your hull, I wouldn't recommend that. And I'm going after the Pensacola. I'm not going to let that guy live doing, what, 290 hit points over there? No way! We fire at his ship. We get one shell to hit him. And I'm going to continue to move away. The Pensacola's doing good damage. 6,000 points of damage. The armor is okay. It doesn't feel like the Warspite, right? The Warspite takes a lot of damage, but it heals for a lot. A lot of what you do in a Warspite is you try and counter its weakness. What is its weakness? Well, its armor is okay. It takes a ton of fire damage, so you usually put in modules to reduce the time fires stay on the ship. The gun caliber is extreme compared to this one, right? Isn't it like 381, something like that? This is 330. And the other two tier 6s are 356, I think. You're not giving up a lot, but you're giving up a mighty amount of caliber compared to the Warspite, which is a tier 6 premium, and it has the bonus of trying to train a commander for a ship line that will come before any French line ever sees the light of day, right? I like to see the value in picking up a premium. Do you generate a lot of credits? Well, I think you can. If you're comfortable with an Izumo, if you're comfortable with the style of trying to minimize the number of targets that can engage you, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with this ship. It is a French ship. You're probably not going to see a French dedicated line for at least 6 months, maybe a year. Is it really worth it to purchase a ship that has no other use than to use your commander in it and earn credits? When you compare it to other ships, I don't think so. I think the Scharnhorst, which will be coming out in a much closer window, they're basically competing with each other, right? The Scharnhorst is a tier 7 premium German battleship. It plays way different, admittedly, to this ship, but it has the bonus of training commanders for the German line, even the German battleships. That's hugely important. Plus, I think the Scharnhorst is more traditional, honestly, in its layout. There's only, what, 2 or 3 ships in the game with this awkward layout, so you're really training for 2 or 3 ships, honestly. It's much better to purchase a ship that will not only train your commander, but also train your senses in what you're looking for. Now, this enemy Fuso is bow on. I decide to use HE. HE has a 35% chance baseline to light the target on fire. And yes, I am working on a French commander. I don't get a 19 skill commander. It takes a long time from baseline to get up there and really test this out. I would probably do my standard battleship build. Concealment, advanced firing training, superintendent, expert marksman, survivability, right? It works great. Now the Fuso, he's put out his fire. I am just waiting to be able to relight it. I was commenting on the stream that a competitive team looks for HE and the fire chance. That is very important. Most great players, they will refuse to show you a weakness. The only weakness you can use is fire. And I see that a friendly got, I think, two fires at least on his ship before he died, unfortunately. But I lit a third on his stern. So this enemy Fuso is burning way down. And he is at a disadvantage. I am bow on. I have 100% of my damage available to me. He only has what? 20? 40%, if that? So all we got to do is chip away, maintain fire, and maintain somewhat angle in order to avoid a citadel. And this is where this ship is really good. If you ever get in a position, just like the Izumo, where you can put pressure on an enemy, you can do it without having to worry about changing your angle to ever weaken it for a moment. And this guy, he has dropped way down. And this might be the kill shot. No, it's not. He's going to burn down. Is he going to burn down to me? He does not. He puts out the fire. Of course he does. Yeah, Sequest. And he tops it off by pulling a Notser in front of Notser. We just have to wait on our reload. The reload is average. It's okay. It could be better. Secondaries get the kill. But no close quarter combat medal. What's the deal with that? And he dragged me out of the capture point just enough where I have to reinitialize it. The Congo, on the clear opposite side of the map, is full life. Don't know how he swung that. I know I would never be at full life with 6 minutes left in a match. I like to take damage. I like to take a lot of damage. It's just in my nature. And he took a lot of damage in a small window. The enemy destroyer absolutely obliterated him with torpedoes. I'm all on my own. With no one here. Absolutely no one. And in this scenario, I don't feel good at all. Because it's not a bad ship. It's just not a good ship. It doesn't have the Fuso's rate of fire. It doesn't have the Warspite's penetration to overcome angles that maybe you just can't in other ships like this one. You really rely on the enemy to make mistakes, especially enemy battleships. So what do I want to do in this moment? I figure B is a logical choice for the enemy. So I'm going to try and head them off, maybe bump into the destroyer as he comes around. Both over by D. Okay, they're over by D. Really? How are they over by D? I didn't really get that in the communication. So I'm locked in on B. It just feels like, okay, he meant A. I was like, whoa, over by D. I'm over by D. So yeah, if they're over by A, the logical choice is the closest point, which is B. I felt like that was where I was going to go. I don't have access to my aircraft. I would use my aircraft, and I intend to do it as soon as possible to get me anything, any sniff of the enemy. If I can just see one guy either behind an island for the destroyer or increasing the detection range. A lot of battleships have terrible detection range via the aircraft, and that will also see around an island. I don't know how 11-kilometer range is seeing around an island, but it'll help you. So don't be afraid to use it, even if you don't have any reason to call it out. There's no aircraft in this match that's going to come after me. So I sent it out. I'm about 1 square away from B. And whoa! Look at what we see on the map. Yeah, it's an enemy Minekaze, and it looks like he's headed for D, not B. So I'm going to turn tail and try and head off the pass, so to say. All my guns are forward facing. If I can go bow on, I can't have a shot. We need to make something happen. We're down by a lot. We basically have to kill the enemy. Not that that's probably possible at this point, especially in this ship. I don't have torpedoes. I'm not insinuating that it's somehow terrible. I just don't have the rate of fire and the consistent damage to knock out 2 ships in probably a minute, if that, left in the match. Now, he's not detected, again, as it routed, and he just hit the corner. We're detected as well, so we know he's basically right near my cursor, give or take, and yeah, always want to track it. You always want to have an idea of what they're doing. Where are you, enemy destroyer? This is very dangerous, of course, but I have no choice. I have to kill him. I have to at least try. He does have 6 torpedoes, and yep, okay, we were right on the edge of detecting him. And oh, we catch a sniff. The aircraft was there. Lead him just a hair because he's moving forward, and I think we're going to take at least 1 torpedo. We take it on the belt. And here comes some more. I'm going to try and go neutral, forward facing, bow on, come on, avoid the torpedo. And I don't think he's ever going to let me see him again. We did pretty good. 85,000, not bad, but just not enough. Not enough indeed. This is a support ship. I do not believe it is a ship that can dominate, not at least consistently. And we're just going to check out the stats. I think I lit, what, 3 fires? Maybe 4? We did 2 kills. Yeah, 4 fires set. 85,000 points of damage done. We actually earned the gold damage, so we were the top in the game. I did 1,507 base XP. Almost beat the entire team. Which, you know, it felt pretty good. I didn't feel like I was in a position where I had to overcome such a huge glaring weakness. I just felt like I couldn't do enough with what I was given. Now, that's not the only game. We've got another game, and this game is the worst case scenario. You are the lowbie. You are the tier 6 in a tier 8 match. You are going up against North Carolina's, Amagi's, Benson's, Fubuki. You are going up against ships that have such a clear advantage that it's laughable that you're even in the same contest. So we're going to see how well it works out. Now, initially, I spawned in the west, and I felt like the team was going to go BC. That's what we agreed upon, team. But no. 4, 5, 6 of my teammates say, I want to take A. I'm a support ship at this point. I can't dictate anything. I need to just go and do damage for my team. So I'm going to head for A, and I'm going to use that island. We fire on the enemy Nuremberg, and it's HE. We'll light the target on fire. I should have had AP loaded, but we did pretty good damage, I'd say. Set the target on fire. 5 damaging shots, 8,000 points of damage done. If you look in the top right, it's real time. If you ever want to confirm damage, just check the top right. You definitely should enable that. It helps you a lot. It tells you information that you would not normally have. And yeah, we did good damage. I was actually surprised how much damage I did. The enemy North Carolina is in the area though, and it's getting real. So I'm going to try and place myself as close to the island as I can. 3,200, not bad. Only 1 shell though. The dispersion leaves something to be desired. I think it's supposed to work this way. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the more guns that you stuck in a turret, the more the guns would make the other guns that happen to be on the turret less accurate unless you compensated with something. That's sort of why, for a long time, some of these navies avoided sticking 3-gun turrets. And then, of course, they finally were able to maintain good accuracy and still have 3 guns. But the French, they're doing it at 4, down at tier 6, so I think it's by design, but I don't like it. And I'm sure this North Carolina doesn't like that I am right on the edge of shooting broadside into him, and I really would like it to be accurate enough to punish with a Citadel. Please punish with a Citadel. 7,700. Okay. Oh, we're gonna bump into the friendly. Boop. That was not fair. And yes, this was on stream. I appreciate anyone and everyone that joins us, and I respect anyone who will refuse to use the stream, because you don't have to do that. I'm never gonna know that you've done that, but I really appreciate it when you don't use that extra information. It'll make you a better player, absolutely. I mean, how often do you play against an opponent and you have their stream available, right? You don't want to rely on that. Bad. And you can just see how many shells are making contact. We fired probably 24 shells, maybe even more. No, we fired way more. We fired probably 36, 32, 40. We've only hit 16. Only 16. And the North Carolina is retreating, as he should. He's been super aggressive. I am now taking fire from the enemy. Oh, nice. That was pretty lucky. We got 6 of the 8 shells to make contact. We did 54,000. I am bow on. This is the ideal scenario. The island is minimizing the damage I take. I do have an enemy ship on my flank right now, which I didn't realize, if you can see it over by B. But I have a friendly just to my east. So he is actually taking the attention. If that battleship was firing as greedy as he could, 2,000, if the battleship was greedy, he would go after my ship that is broadside to his position. But I think he's actually afraid of for his life, as he should be. And he's engaging the battleship that is a threat to him. And the friends were able to take A, somehow. And somehow this North Carolina takes a massive amount of damage from Hardy. And now I realize, wow, this New Mexico needs assistance. So I'm going to rotate the guns. The turret traverse it's better than most. It's not the best, though. The Scharnhorst feels really fast. It feels like a cruiser. And I love it to bits because of that. We do 6,400 points of damage. Okay. And the reason I'm doing this, he has to decide, is he going to be angled against me or my friend? And it looks like he wants to fire, or at least the Pensacola. Oh, 10,000. Just like that, we take a massive amount of damage. We need to get rid of this guy if he's going to intend to fire on me. Another waterline shot. It might be 3,400. If I had a different ship, I would get a Citadel and I would kill him. I'm not saying all ships would be able to protect that statement, but more times than not, I'm not hitting the Citadel that I want from this ship. And I move forward. I'm afraid of the Pensacola. I am leaving him out to dry a little bit, and I feel bad about that. We're going to try and take out this target as a solution to the problem. I would say that's appropriate, Notser. You know, we take out a target, you can help. I'm going to come back around and assist. We did, what, 18,000? Yeah, that felt good. It was a cruiser, though. I should be able to damage the cruiser. I'm going to go after the cruiser again. And they're so close together, they're actually hindering each other. I wasn't sure how fast he was going to go, so I actually called an audible in the moment, decided to fire on the New Mexico. Really? The only shells that make contact, they ricochet off of the ship. And the New Mexico gets so close. Wow! The Fubuki, he got a double strike. He saved that friendly New Mexico. That was a fantastic play by him. In the stream I'm going, that was a double strike. He did a great job. That's why you don't get too close to your friend. So we're going to use this shell that was meant for either the New Mexico or the Pensacola on the Benson. And I hit him with only 2, but we do what looked like 3,800 points of damage. He sent torpedoes. I'm going to try and avoid it. I swapped to HE. This is a ship that you want to switch to HE if you ever have an opportunity to fire on a target that's not broadside. HE is a very strong HE. 35% chance baseline to set the target on fire. And of course, it's a destroyer, so why not? So I lead the target in the direction he's headed, of course. He's not moving at all. 3,700. Nice. We don't kill him, though. I'm hoping a friendly can do it. If they don't, I will focus. And again, we are on the attack. Just like the Izumo, you use islands to minimize the targets that can engage you, and you try and maintain a bow-on positioning most of the time. You really don't want to turn too much. And since the enemy is completely undetected, I'm not going to wait to try and kill him. Oh, nice! 8 shells hit. All 8 hit. We set the target on fire, did 10,000 points of damage. If that was only AP, how much damage would we have done? But 10,000 is still good. I'm not going to complain about that. Now, don't you dare try and get away, Benson. Oh, friendlies try and fire on him. Oh, they missed again. Nobody is willing to hit the shot. I fire and I go, cool guys, they don't look at explosions. Well, you know what? You're not a cool guy because you didn't kill him, Notser. I'm sorry. It was pretty poor. It was a pretty poor shot. It could have been better. It could have been worse. There was a really bad shot in the stream, and I just, oh, that was bad. It was just really bad. And I figure the Benson, he's going to get what is coming to him eventually. I decide, let's continue to fire on the New Mexico. It might be up to the second where damage control is available to him, and the Benson's dead. So I figure, any damage is worth it. And yeah, the game's already over. This is not how I figured the game would go. Now, as the game thinks about crashing, what do I think of the ship? I think the ship functions correctly. I think the value is not there yet since there's no French line. And quite frankly, I really enjoyed the Scharnhorst. I performed way better in the Scharnhorst on average, and that is coming out very close to this window. I got 1 kill, 82,000 points of damage done, 1,667 base XP, top XP in a tier 8 match. But that's because I limited the weaknesses. I used an island to minimize the targets that could engage me, and I picked on anyone that made a mistake. And it's pretty easy when your team does a good job pushing and keeping the pressure on the enemy. I hope you enjoyed both of these games. I hope they showcase the ship at least so you can make an educated decision. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.